Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back another video from Totally Not Mark, continuing with the BERSERK reviews. I hope I've read enough to cover this. I think I have. This is Golden Age, Arc 1 of 2. And just so everyone knows what I'm up to, in case we do get to a funny bit of the video, I've literally just finished reading, because I'm by, like with One Piece, I buy the volumes, physical, can't read, I can't stand reading it on my phone or on my laptop. I've just read Guts leaving. He's left the group. Just in case spoilers and stuff like that, so I don't want to but Guts has just, left the group. And I feel like that's enough to cover this. Again, it's Christmas time and the time of me doing this, so I don't want to be spending loads of money on all this stuff, so I feel like this is going to be the last review video I touch upon for this until next year. But let me just say, I've absolutely enjoyed it so much, and I'm going to say this, my girlfriend asked, I am enjoying the BERSERK manga more than One Piece. And I never thought I'd ever say that, because One Piece is absolutely incredible. Most amazing thing I have experienced this year. And reading BERSERK was replacing that. Was very slowly replacing that, and I think it's just because I'm taking a break. I keep questioning it, but I feel like if I carried on, I would very much be like, oh, yeah, BERSERK's the one. So let's see what Mark had to say on the first half of the Golden Age arc, because I feel like that's what I'm up to.
Here it goes. BERSERK's Golden Age arc is the best arc I've read easily since One Piece ended.
He said the thing.
Honest, might be the best arc I've ever read.
Damn, okay, so we're on the same page. Cool. This was awesome. Such great storytelling, and the art's incredible. And the way they introduce Griffith in the future, and then you're back at this, it's like, how does everything go wrong?
I read almost all of it in one sitting. I didn't drink water, I didn't stand up, and I didn't eat. Dare I say, BERSERK's Golden Age arc is perfect. Last time
boss, absolutely boss.
Arc, and while I really liked it, comparing that to this arc is like comparing Corcus to Griffith.
Haha. But thing is, I feel like if the Black Swordsman arc wasn't told the way it was, we wouldn't be constantly on edge waiting for what happens in the future. The ballad.
And today I'm covering the first half of the Golden Age.
Damn. Oh god. Oh yeah.
Surging back into the past with the blink of an eye, we come to learn exactly how Guts became the person he is today. Outlining a chilling
ooh, gross. Oh no, this is gonna be weird.
And one's own struggle to find their place in the world. This story
Guy
is a
that
work
bought
of
him.
art that, while passionate in its creation and telling, paints its most vibrant colors not with traditional tools, but with the more deviant, grotesque, and contorted aspects of its subject matter, humanity. Holding a mirror up to society as we view the early life of our main hero.
He hates it. You get why as well now. I was like, bloody hell.
Grabbed this comically sized book and squeezed it, but above all else, it captured my attention from chapter 1 and never let go. It's difficult to know where to start with this review, as there's an incredible amount to discuss and analyze, but I think the best place to start this review is chronologically.
Yeah, do it from the beginning.
To this big and bad world. The prologue. The material covered in this section details Guts' early childhood. In hindsight, while this can be seen as the prologue to the eventual epic that begins once Griffith arrives, much like our own childhood, many of the events in this portion, some mundane and others shocking, help aid us in better empathizing and understanding BERSERK's characters. When you start from the beginning of a character's life like this, I've discovered it offers many ideal opportunities for elegant and telling pieces of dialogue, specifically because we've already spent a considerable amount of time with the character in his later life, forcing the explicit and even the subtly implicit moments to stand out to us all the more. For instance, something I found interesting right off the bat concerning Golden Age was that for a decent amount of its introduction, Guts doesn't say anything.
No, he doesn't talk a lot, does he? He's surrounded by people that,
after he should be able to speak as a child, and it's not something he offers without antagonization. Growing up in a band of mercs, his mother after dying and his only father figure abusive, in the middle of a sword training session, the onlookers in the band cheer, "Why don't you use a sword more your size?" And after being thrown to the floor, Guts passionately exclaims,
"No!"
No! Dotted throughout this first chapter, covering his life from birth to 9 years of age, we're offered small windows.
So he's been doing it since that age. It's like, you're instantly like, oh, okay, makes sense then, the whole... Oh.
Proclivity for large weaponry, poetically gripping them tightly for security amidst the harsh and damaging upbringing, or other more subtle familiar actions like choosing to be there for his
mum when she was dying from the what disease she had, yeah.
He was willing to take the more difficult option because it meant something to someone he cared for.
Gambino,
that really
man.
paints all of this introduction. The events that he endures before the age of 10 are painfully human,
Yep.
with some of the absolute worst aspects of our species laid to bear. It is horrific what happens to this child, to say the least.
It's horrible. Absolutely horrible what has happened to him.
In the present day. I've certainly had times where, as a child, I've been convinced of one thing that an adult has said and has successfully concealed the truth. And as we look on almost exclusively through Guts' point of view, after having been told Gambino his father figure sold him off for the night, authorized...
He refused to believe it.
Makes their encounter afterwards all the more unsettling, and from a narrative point of view, interesting. The most interesting aspect...
It is interesting, because then you're constantly questioning this. You're constantly questioning a lot of stuff as this is being told.
Something I try to reliably do as a reader is to constantly be aware of what point of view I'm seeing certain events through. What we're implicitly told can be as important or more important than explicit information, particularly when it comes to coloring different characters. There are at least two significant events where we are shown that Gambino is directly involved on the page. A particular training session with Guts and his drunken attempted murder of the young man to cap things off. Gambino is cruel, emotionally bankrupt, and he's all Guts has in the world. With his only substantial interactions coming by way of battle or training for battle, we see firsthand why swords and battle are the coping mechanisms Guts has shown a preference for. And as Guts gets revenge on his attacker, Gambino loses his leg and the years drift on by.
Well, then Gambino just turns slowly into...
A climax that hit like a train. Drunk, he eventually admits that he did accept payment for the heinous act committed unto Guts earlier in his life, admitting that he hates him, and in that same breath attacks Guts, launching forward with his sword.
He just straight up, and then this is where it all goes downhill for Guts again. It's like, no, he killed him, run away.
Running for his life, terrified, and after suffering
legs it
tremendous
and just...
fall, the chaotic
And then he has to fight all those wolves. It's like, what?
Unveiling panels around these quiet, intimate moments that are nothing short of breathtaking. Don't get me wrong, I love Miura's big action set pieces too, but there's nothing I enjoy more than his tranquil pieces. More personal
like,
Guts shares with us.
I feel like the way it's drawn is intended to be animated that way, you know, so like how you would see it as like a...
horrific renderings of the epic or fierce. They aren't the shocking or the scarring, but instead the tranquil, the peaceful beauty that can be found amidst the most chaotic of misfortunes.
Yeah, I give you that, Mark.
Band of the Falcon. This is it.
Oh,
the section where
mates. Here we go.
A dominant performance in a village earning him some serious coin, Guts begins making his way out of town when he's attacked by a group of Griffith's crew members. This is the inciting...
Oh, and he just slowly, one by one, just starts fighting them all, doesn't he? And then it's... Griffith's just like, I'll take you. I'll take you.
There's a clear pecking order with Casca being the number 2 to
Yeah,
Griffith's
definitely.
clear,
Casca's number 2,
far away number 1. This is a leader, while Young is seen almost as a god by those in his stead. And once Guts wakes up, partially recovered from his previous injuries courtesy of Griffith himself, we get a short tour around the camp, getting introduced to the
Oof, that's some good animation. So, there is a good adaptation then, but then there's a bit that's poop then, right?
Between Griffith and Guts is spectacular beyond measure, and I will be using it to structure this particular review. From a design point of view, I love how these two characters are effectively polar opposites of each other.
Yeah, they really are. My God.
Around the edges, emotional with dark features, while Griffith is calm and smooth with fair, delicate features. You can tell everything you need to know about these two characters just by looking at their swords
really
and
can.
how they wield them.
Look at him.
Guts with 2 hands attacks aggressively, charging forward, while Griffith
He's so casual and calm, just one hand, thin sword, just like, oh, I'm fine.
When it comes to the makeup of their blades, we're greeted with even more information. Guts uses a large hunk of iron, while Griffith a far more dignified and modestly sized blade, with some flashy trimming on the hilt. I love attention to details like this. It's a superbly stunning design. Everything from their opposing colored clothes.
It's amazing, isn't it? They're like, the same strike and everything is what finishes the part 2 of this fight, and it, yeah.
so many others. And given that I know what the relationship amounts to later, seeing this
it's
first
like,
proper clash,
what's
I was
going on?
extremely invested. And I haven't even mentioned the best part of the fight. The actual fight. This
Yeah.
altercation was made with the understanding that if Guts kills Griffith, he goes free. And if Griffith wins,
He owns him.
Guts will be his.
Yeah.
Understanding these consequences, watching as Griffith expertly evades and
Jumps on his sword, man. It's like, what's going on?
Nerve-wracking. But no matter how much Griffith pushes Guts, Guts would always dig even deeper and never.
It keeps going, yeah.
This comes to a head, however, when after a massive swing of his sword, Griffith, composed as ever, leaps onto Guts' blade, having closed the distance and placed himself in a victorious position, blade pointed squarely
Oh my
at the
God.
throat of Guts. He asks for Guts' surrender, and he refuses. Ever defiant, he declares, "I'll show you how mouths should be used in a fight."
And he bites the
This
sword!
was the single most
Yeah.
great moment in the
What?
moment that I've experienced so far. Watching as Griffith's holier-than-thou ass was thrown to the ground, with Guts laying a few good hits in to boot. This only further bonded me to the tenacious and sympathetic personality that is Guts.
Yeah, man.
The dialogue
Don't
in
give
this
a-
section is spectacular,
don't give a-
with
don't give a
Griffith
shit.
at one point holding up Guts' sword, saying, "It's an amazing sword. I could never wield it." If we want to, for a second, speak thematically, this could mean a number of things, but because the sword represents Guts' only security against the darkness in his mind, then perhaps what Griffith means, or what it can be interpreted as thematically here, is Griffith may not have shared a similar past and therefore can't wield such a
Can't
burdensome
understand,
weapon.
like,
Even
such a-
scenes that
yeah.
take place as early in his life, coming with familiar lines like, "The way you fight, it's almost as though you're gambling on your own life." This fight, it honestly had everything from stakes.
It's boss,
and audience
absolutely
feeling
boss, like,
villain
yeah.
character writing, making in-character decisions, and the best artwork in framing the series has shown
Mate,
yet. This
I-
was some top-tier stuff.
So glad I've, like,
With the telling
managed to
thematically
stop
resonant
buying, but,
declarations
oh,
from
I
Griffith
might
once he
buy the
maneuvers
next
and
lot.
takes Guts out.
Ah,
Now,
you belong to me.
the aftermath. Once the agreement was made, Guts became an acting member of this young band of mercs, doing exceptionally well in his first outing with the group, earning their respect after the trouble he caused initially. There's a scene that takes place atop the castle tower that I'd like to address, and
Okay,
I might
go
be
on.
reading into it a little much, but I'm a big fan of these quiet character moments, and there might be something worth reading into in this scene. Right after his first day making a splash, a party is held for Guts in his honor. Reluctant to join in,
And he just
even when dragged
Kills by
down,
himself. Yeah, he does get dragged down by him, and it's like, come on.
when he's left alone. Oftentimes in the past, even when he first picked up by this group, he sits with his back to something and his sword held closely.
Yeah.
In this instance, Guts chooses to sit atop the castle in a similar fashion, but what really caught my attention more than anything else was this pose he struck. The morning after, sitting atop the castle, talking to Judo. This is a strange pose, and from a body language point of view, it makes sense for him to take this guarded position, considering the subject matter they're covering in this conversation is a little personal. But I think it could mean a little more than that. He's covering a specific part of his face around his nose. The scar that lingers and was etched onto his character design was given to him by his abusive father figure after he lashed
Oh,
out.
right,
And
okay.
I wonder if perhaps Miura drew Guts in this scene with Judo touching his scar, because unlike the place where he grew up yearning for something, somewhere to call home, in this band of young mercenaries he might actually find family. In his mind,
Ah.
he feels like he perhaps might have something here. And once
Never
the
thought
subject
about
turns
that.
to
I
him
don't
again,
think too
he
as
immediately
in
clutches
depth when
his
reading,
sword
but like,
with
yeah,
his
it's
sword. To end things,
valid.
the chapter and glimpse of this time period in Guts' life comes to a close in a rather remarkable way, with him happy. After achieving a believable friendship now with
it's
some
a
select
struggle
members of the
watching
group,
Guts
and
because
with
you
him
just
starting
want him to
on
just
some
be like,
level,
come on,
bring his
mate.
walls down. Guts still an adolescent.
Come on! Especially as the time goes on as well. They're your friends! Come on!
But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention one final aspect of this section that caught my attention that I think is majorly important moving forward.
The Behelit.
Declaration Griffith
Is it
made
the Behelit?
saying that he wants a kingdom and that Guts belongs to him.
Yeah.
Having read the prior material, one of the themes emphasized and explored in great detail was that of freedom and the lengths one would go, specifically
To
Guts,
get it.
to retain that freedom.
Yeah.
During the Black Swordsman arc, Guts valued freedom above all else, and I don't think I need to be a genius to put two and two together here. In this instance.
Something's
gonna
happened.
happen.
Yeah.
Now, it's about at this time in my script writing process I realized that if I were to proceed like this through the events of the story, the video in question would be about 90 minutes long and I would be repeating myself ad nauseum. And due to this fact, I was faced with a difficult decision to make. How should I structure this? How do I tackle this massive story? And then I asked myself, what were the most important aspects of this story?
Go on.
And my answer? The characters.
Of course,
Something I
like,
think is important to mention
they're so interesting. Oh, my
my
God, they're interesting.
Of Nosferatu Zod, the battle for Doldrey, and the absence of demonic creatures throughout this review.
Yeah, there's nothing except for the one. The one that's in it is like, and he mentions something, and it's like, wait, what? And then he pops up very later on for a moment. It's like, okay.
Of this golden age review, as I think dividing Zod's prophecy between two videos could get a little messy. So, rest assured, I will be talking about that in the next Berserk review.
Right, okay.
From this point on, I'd like to go a little more abstract with my approach to this review and talk specifically about the themes and dynamics of different characters that drive this section of the story towards its conclusion. Starting with Griffith. Griffith is an astonishingly brilliant character.
Yeah, very, very interesting, at least.
As I mentioned before in my dissection of his and Guts' first duel, he is pitch perfect in both how he's handled and what he says in this story.
Yeah.
If ever I saw a character whose dynamic gave a particular story everything they possibly could, Griffith would fit that billing to a T. The means with which Miura introduces and builds this character up over the course of the narrative is not only enjoyable but also creates suspense. In a sense, it's difficult to discuss Griffith in any meaningful capacity without referring to his effect on other people in the greater story.
Yeah.
Stories are, after all, normally about conflict typically between two or more characters, but Griffith, more so than any character in this story, has the makeup of his character delivered almost exclusively through how he speaks and how others view him. Throughout the entirety of this story that I've read for the purposes of this video, from the beginning to the morning of departure,
He's so strange.
Virtually no internal dialogue is given to us as readers from Griffith's perspective. Now, many of you at this point might be saying, so, who cares if we don't see his internal yammerings? What does that matter? Well, it matters primarily because this arc deals
really
with
does.
interpersonal relationships between many different characters, many of which
He has so many random glares at people, and you're just like, what the intimidation?
Into understanding what he's honestly thinking, it achieves elegantly and precisely just the right dynamic that allows this arc to
who knows, he might...
It gives us all the information we need.
We've seen him in the future. He's doing something towards, like, some mad stuff.
Explodes as we get to know the band of the Hawk through the likes of Casca, Judo, Corcus, Pippin,
And we know what he's like through them.
Didn't mention Griffith. While Griffith plays an enormous role in the success of this arc, we don't really at any point get to know him like we do the other characters.
And we learn about him through them.
As we do with the likes of Casca and Guts. We do receive quiet moments with just Griffith and Guts from time to time, but the only reason
Not that often.
those instances is due to Griffith's scarcity in the narrative. Let's take these scenes for example. There are a number of scenes where Guts and Griffith talk, and where Griffith even talks with others in his follow, but we never see what he's actually thinking.
No.
We only ever really receive speculation.
It's always outward dialogue, not the inner dialogue.
Griffith. At first as a great leader or warrior, until he reaches goal after goal after goal, in which people then start to refer to him as otherworldly or godlike. And this positioning the narrative places Griffith in the story is primarily what drives the suspense moving forward. We know what Griffith wants, we know what his goal is, and we know what he's willing to do to achieve these ends. We have no idea what he's really thinking. That's what makes this scene from the assassin.
And he makes sure people don't know afterwards as well, isn't it? Jesus.
A small portion of story centered around General Julius's jealousy of the newly appointed Griffith, and as has been the case with many of the other stories in this arc, both Griffith and Guts play leading roles. There's an entire panel dedicated to the conflict in Guts' mind, and in fittingly poetic fashion, at the chapter's climax. Having been assigned by Griffith to kill those that would do him harm, in addition to killing his target and the slimy General Julius, he also kills Julius's son,
yeah.
The secondary order of leading no witnesses. Now, he didn't know that this was a kid, let alone his, when he killed him, but it was a magnificent example of Guts mindlessly following someone because he believed in him. Perhaps more than anyone else.
It's like, I have to do it, and then it's like,
which
well...
makes you wonder, would he have done anything he asked? And if that's true, then has Guts really sold his soul to this man Griffith completely? Does he really belong to him?
Question your
Was what
dreams.
Griffith said when he won the duel entirely true? Then aside from the clearly morally reprehensible acts Guts is committing on his allies' behalf, where's this sense of conflict we feel in the story coming from? Well, throughout this story, we felt Guts gravitate towards this group reluctantly. We felt the sense of family.
Yeah, he didn't want to get involved straight away, did he? And then it's like...
he goes into battle with. In battles with terrifying monsters, we've seen Griffith put his life on the line time and again in the name of saving Guts from certain death. With him saying to Guts' face, "Do do I need a reason each time I put myself in harm's way for your
That was a
sake?
weird one.
And now, after climbing out of the sewer like a rat, leaving a trail of death in his wake, Guts, looking to speak with what he would consider a friend, stands at the base of a large staircase.
And he's talking to the princess, isn't he?
Casca watch on as Griffith, sitting atop the stairs, out of reach, discusses philosophy with the princess he's courting, ending with the most biting quote of all, highlighting how single-minded he is in his vision, his conquest, and never-ending pursuit to his one goal of his. When asked directly about his friends or troop, he says something to the princess that sets the wheels in motion for what will become his downfall in this section of the story. He says, "They are excellent troops. Together we have faced death so many times. They are valuable comrades devoting themselves to the dream I envision. But to me, a friend is something else. Someone who would never depend upon another's dream, someone who wouldn't be compelled by anyone, but would determine and pursue his own reason to live. And should anyone trample that dream, he would oppose him body and soul, even if the threat were me, myself. What I think a friend is one who is my equal." As readers have been forced to contend with the moral ambiguity of the main character's violent actions, knowing full well he wishes for a relationship with Griffith and knowing that he didn't enjoy doing what he did that night, we have to watch Guts hear, digest, and understand that statement from...
And then he tries to go forwards, and then is it Casca stops him.
Highlighting just how many levels of difference there are, both physically and figuratively, between those two characters. The hired assassin, fresh from the sewer, acting on someone else's behalf without question, and the clean and dignified visionary who pursues with unwavering focus towards his ultimate dream. Such poetry we do not normally see in manga, and now we have direct conflict, spawning from a desire born from Guts' childhood and trauma. What an astonishingly great scene.
Yeah.
There's absolutely more I want to discuss regarding this character, but for now, let's move on to another for a brief moment. Casca. Casca is the third
boss,
on
man.
this narrative wheel alongside
She starts off as such a
with respect to Guts and Griffith, she represents
irritating character,
the Band of the Hawk, acts as a bridge to
and then I
during numerous conversations
really like her.
and perhaps most crucially, she represents and highlights how the broader Band of the Hawk and all who fall under Griffith's spell praise, adulate, and glorify.
And then she's conflicted at the end, which I loved. I loved that. I was just like, wow.
To the composed deification, for lack of a better term, that Griffith seems to want to promote around him, while, and this is my speculation, leveraging the trauma and yearning for acceptance these forgotten toys of the wider Berserk world cry out for in his stead. Clearly, as made evident by the contents of this video review, Berserk, and more specifically this arc, is centered around two characters in Griffith and Guts. However, there's a fascinating section of this story which allows Casca to take center stage and to no longer play the seldom seen secondary character role she has been following up until this point.
Oh, when they...
It all begins in the day of the big battle against the White Whale Knight.
When they both fall down, and then Guts kills like 100 or more warriors by himself. Sorry, oh. Indigestion.
To a nice, to a general, and so on and so forth. And during the events of this section, we are very much entrenched in that struggle for elevation and promotion. One of the most significant themes following the character of Casca is one of acceptance, tying wonderfully into Guts' sense of worthlessness. She now, during this significant...
Oh, this is when she's on a period, isn't it? And it's like she's feeling all ill and stuff, and it's just like...
that set her apart from this old-fashioned world of men, reminding her that despite her decision to live like a man, there are some things...
There are differences.
This same aspect of her leads to Guts, someone who's constantly nagging and poking fun at her for being a girl. However, thanks to the time they spend together, he soon realizes and grows to appreciate and admire how much more difficult and tough it must be to be a woman.
Must be rough being a woman. I did like this.
Her as above all the other weaklings at the reception following the battle, showing a true sign of respect on his behalf. Their budding relationship, platonic or otherwise,
this was boss, because like they just didn't get on. It was like, I hope they do, and yes.
Her extreme and limitless admiration for Griffith with her natural and organic relationship with Guts. The history that's unearthed concerning her past, as well as the bond she reluctantly forms with a person she at one point hated for reasons I'll get into in just a sec, Guts, was both symbolically beautiful, as all Miura works.
The way he got naked with her and just like for purely getting her warm. What a lad. What a lad.
We get to see her side of the story as she admits to, at one point in time, hating Guts, bringing to light the reason behind her
like mad respect there. That's like, whoa. Go ahead.
Revealing a damaging backstory and unhealthy admiration for Griffith and a lack of appreciation for Guts.
Scratching his arms, actually, so like, I need to get this dream.
While reading these chapters, the more Casca got to know and interact with Guts, the more the two of them gained a deeper understanding of themselves, the more deeper appreciation and empathy for each other they felt. Placed in high-risk scenarios as Guts single-handedly slaughters 100 men all by himself in the name of buying her time to get help, but also for another reason I want to touch on in just a sec. Once they return to the site where she last saw Guts fighting for his life, we see bodies strewn across the land as Guts, holding himself up with the help of a tree and his trusty sword, stands victorious. There have been a number of instances throughout this story where Guts has run into trouble on his own, causing Griffith to put his life on the line for his sake, leading to Casca's hatred for how careless Guts can be and jealousy as to why
But then Guts just does it by himself. It's just like, I don't need that.
After the entire outing takes place and resolves itself, she gets what she wanted. For Griffith to outwardly state that she is a valued member. And while she does get that, we as readers also see firsthand that despite Griffith having had nothing to do with this achievement from Guts, despite Guts getting praised for his monumentous undertaking, others still use this as an opportunity to highlight how amazing Griffith is in comparison. If Guts is this good, imagine how amazing
Griffith is. Yeah, it's like, whoa.
Times, and while I was aware of it, this was the moment it cemented for me my feelings on the Griffith character. Campfire of Dreams. Campfire of Dreams is my favourite chapter in all of the manga that I've read so far. This is the single most touching and spectacularly beautiful chapter I think I've ever read in my life, all the while highlighting exactly what it is about this story that makes it so special to me. There's no fighting, there's no dynamic action sequences, there's no violence, it's just a...
Well, that's what's great about Berserk. It doesn't have to be that intense and graphic and violent and over the top like it's promoted to be.
Decides to speak his mind and let someone else in and know how he feels. He begins revealing how he wasn't fighting back there to protect her against those 100 enemies, but instead did so in essence because it's who he thinks he is. It's what comes naturally and highlights how he has nothing else in his life. He admires Casca and Griffith for feeling so strongly about their dreams, and that due to the discrepancy between them, he feels alienated even when looking down at all the individual lights painted across the land in his honor. His dream, whether he wants it to be or not, isn't here with these people, and taking what Griffith said to heart, he wants to fight tooth and nail to find something he can live to die for. Much like the rest of this arc, it's a 10 out of 10, but because it resonated with me so powerfully, I needed to dedicate a small bit of this video's runtime to it. But the main takeaway,
fair enough.
Guts is leaving, and it'll be after the next campaign.
Reviews are personal.
This is a special section of storytelling for me, and figuring out a way to effectively describe what I felt while reading has been the cause for many redrafts of this particular video essay's review. There have been certain iconic scenes I've read through that have taken my breath away, whether it be through childhood or my adult life. I've looked back at all of these in retrospect and was able to on some level figure out how they in fact pulled off what made them so special to me. And what makes this particular scene all the more impactful, for me anyway, is that despite the largest and most impressive battle taking place in the form of the battle to claim Tudor's stronghold, the battle, while impressive and yet again containing many story beats concerning Guts and Casca respectively, it is but a footnote in my mind compared to one of the single best rematches in all of Japanese storytelling that I've seen personally. Guts versus Griffith.
And it doesn't even last long, man, and it's perfect.
So earth-shattering came in two waves. The first being the least impressive narratively, so let's get that out of the way first. Up until this point, there has been a considerable and measured approach taken when comparing and growing the relationships between Guts and Griffith. The first major confrontation between them came about at a time when Guts was much younger, less experienced, and not to mention injured. However, this was not much mentioned beyond one or two passing comments acknowledging that. Additionally, over the course of the time they spent together, Griffith and Guts haven't exactly been short on time spent together alone on the page, sharing moments of levity as well as deep contemplation, with Guts very clearly acting as someone Griffith can confide in. However, and this has been made evident since the very beginning, Griffith isn't a normal person in this story.
No.
With not a single individual seeing him as someone that
there is something going on there with Griffith, man.
Is on another level, which brings me to my favorite aspect of this story. Nothing is explicitly told to us. We are left to infer for ourselves what the relationships are or are not. Who is connected to reality and who isn't. Casca idolizes Griffith. She wishes to, quote, be his sword, meaning that she wants to be the best warrior she can so that when the time comes, she can be what Griffith needs her to be in combat to defend him. In addition to that, practically every single sentence a character utters in this story concerning Griffith holds him in the same regard as a deity, in addition to every single last plot element of the story being told, created with the express purpose of elevating or protecting Griffith's standing, helping him to reach his overall goal of ruler, which conflicted magnificently with the character of Guts, having grown to be a mountain of a man and having
I love this. Go on.
he was with any of the others
Totally
until now,
different.
maybe excluding Casca. For him to be confronted with the notion that yet again he's worthless compared to him, and that Griffith has been using him to meet his end all this time, it must be a bitter reality to come to terms with. And when Guts decides to leave, quote, once again is thrown out by Griffith, "You belong
To me.
This is his mask off moment, at
Yeah.
least for me. A moment that signifies
I felt that.
while
Like, he's
everything
showing
has
himself in front of
last 30
everyone
years
at
from
this
their
moment. It's
status
like, it's not
to
just
personal
to Guts.
relationships
Everyone's
as
seeing
soldiers
it.
and comrades, Griffith is still very much the exact same person who said those words that day.
Yep.
Which brings me to something I noticed about the dialogue and the visuals during this section. The duel that takes place isn't necessarily what impresses me about this section, but the swirling of doubt in my mind that took place during it. I was
They fight exactly the
nervous
same.
for Guts during his lead up for the first swing. But now, looking back, I realize that I had no reason to. This is the very first time we are, as readers, allowed to see into Griffith's thought process unabated for a consistent amount of time, which allows us to see his actions.
I won't have it. I won't let you. Yeah. It's like, I thought it was quite odd seeing like dialogue internal around Griffith.
The strategy he's looking to employ, to how he's evaluating the situation.
And he says that I'll just go for his head. Yeah.
Meticulously thorough as we experience firsthand how comprehensive and contemplative the proficient.
And then it just means nothing at this moment.
In my mind, by the constant praise he's received all the time leading up to this moment. In my mind, he's better than Guts.
But
And when the swing does come down, so too does the world Griffith has made crumble. Visually, I don't think I need to explain what makes this spectacular, so I'll just dance across
So
the
sick.
aspects of it quickly. The mindset of Guts is a total opposite compared to their last, with his facial expressions and his positioning in many panels reflecting that reality. Guts now pictured higher than the once more domineering Griffith.
He could have killed him, man. He could have just...
Anew, symbolizing a fresh start on the snow. The
Mad.
shock that floods across Griffith's face as he drops to his knees in utter despair when faced with the sudden reality of his situation was massively satisfying. Guts is more powerful than Griffith. He's leaving, and Griffith needs him. I want to make clear right now that I have absolutely zero idea as to how this story arc will
Mate, I literally read what I needed to. This is sick. Oh my god, are we finishing on...
so far.
Yeah! I'm getting nothing ruined. Amazing!
Will do just about anything to give himself what he needs to succeed.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have made it this far if something like this was going to stop him. He's going to retaliate, but I have no idea
How?
Next time, I'll cover that. This is, as I've said, the best arc I've read in a...
Mate, it's so sick, so good. And I'm so glad this review hasn't spoiled anything, because I've literally read exactly what I needed to. I literally finished on it. Ah!
Next time. But until then, I've been Totally Not Mark. Thank you all so much for watching,
Whoa.
and I'll see you all next time.
Yes. Sick. Oh my god. That's mental. That is absolutely mental. I thought that I would potentially have stuff ruined for me getting into this review, but boss. So yeah, I'm gonna have to hold off on second part and further in 2022, I guess. Like I said, I'm trying to hold off on spending money. That means nothing to me right now, so that's sick. So I'm not, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. I am so happy. Like, wow. Like, that's boss. Cool. Berserk's boss. I'm really enjoying it, and yeah. And I know people have been messaging me asking me about the Mark situation, and I don't really want to put myself out there. It is crap what's happened to him. I feel like now that everyone's like made such a fuss, it'll get sorted, and it's made YouTube notice as well. That's all I'm going to put out there. Anyway, thank you to my patrons. If I just don't like getting involved with like stuff, you know what I mean? Thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video, I upload a link in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask to help support the channel. Greatly appreciated. Thank you guys so much. And thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe, and leave comments down below. Let me know what I watch in future videos. And I'll see you guys, all you guys, next time.